Stephen Curry stepped onto the court wearing Caitlin Clark's signature cobes, and for a moment, the entire basketball world took notice. It wasn't just a style choice. It was a calculated spotlight on one of the WNBA's brightest stars. Clark, whose shoes now dominate both leagues, didn't ask for the moment. But when Curry, an icon in his own right, chose to wear them, it turned into a symbolic passing of the torch.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
A show of respect rarely extended so publicly, and it hit differently, especially for players like Aya Wilson, who saw in that moment the kind of recognition the women's game has long deserved but seldom received. Still, symbolism alone can't carry a movement. If this moment is to mean anything beyond headlines, it must spark sustained advocacy. Players like Clark have already shifted culture. Now it's up to the league and its allies to build on that momentum. Curry's gestures set the tone, but the real test lies in what follows. Will this be remembered as a turning point, or just another fleeting? Stephen Curry laced up for what was expected to be just another night on the hardwood. But as he stepped onto the court, eagle-eyed fans zoomed in on his feet and paused. The golden boy of the NBA wasn't wearing Under Armour. He wasn't even in some exclusive Curry flow drop. He was wearing Nike Kobe 6PEs, Caitlin Clark's signature shoes. The cameras caught it. Social media lit up. Replays zoomed into the purple and yellow trim, the signature Clark detail on the side. And just like that, a moment that could have slipped under the radar turned into a statement. A silent, stylish shout-out to the rising star of women's basketball. The significance of Curry's move didn't need a caption. The shoe spoke louder than any sideline soundbite. This was the NBA's most respected shooter, showing public respect to a rookie from the WNBA. A rookie who's barely settled into her professional career and is already moving cultural mountains. Clark's Nike Kobe SXS have exploded in popularity, quickly becoming the most worn shoes across both leagues. That kind of breakout isn't common. Not for a newcomer, not for someone in a league that spent years fighting for visibility. But Clark's impact isn't normal. She's shifted how people talk about the game. From college arenas packed to the rafters, to jersey sales blowing up before draft day, Clark's name became unavoidable. Now, her shoes are on the feet of NBA royalty. Curry didn't post about it. He didn't tag her. He let the shoes do the talking. And the message was clear: this is someone worth backing. But that silence made people wonder. Was it a show of real support? Or was it a headline play? After all, Curry knows how media cycles work. He understands symbolism, optics, influence. Did he wear the shoes because he believes in Clark's mission, or because he knew people would talk? Clark didn't issue some grand statement in response, but the nod was impossible to ignore. In interviews, she's been measured, almost careful, when talking about how she fits into the legacy of the sport. She knows the attention she's getting is rare, and she's not trying to waste it. She's also not pretending like it's always easy. The expectations are high. Every move is watched, every stat dissected. And while Curry's gestures seemed to take some of the spotlight off her shoulders, it added something else: validation. A reminder that someone at the top sees her work. When Clark has spoken about her rise, she tends to emphasize the bigger picture. She knows what it means for a woman's shoe to outsell a man's. What it means when an NBA player wears her gear. The pressure is real, but so is the potential. She's not naive about the difference between symbolic support and real advocacy. She's said as much. It's easy to wear the shoes. It's harder to speak out, to invest, to fight for the WNBA when the cameras aren't rolling. That's the line between performance and progress. And then Aya Wilson entered the conversation, not through some PR press release, but in the most authentic way possible, by flipping out. Her reaction was instant, loud, and proud. She praised Curry's move like it was the shot heard around the league. Wilson's response carried weight. This wasn't some casual fan getting excited. This was one of the WNBA's most dominant players, a league MVP, showing just how rare this kind of public support is. Her excitement wasn't just for Clark. It was for the league, for the culture shift, for the possibility that this wasn't just a one-off. There's a deeper legacy beneath those shoes. Clark's Kobe SXs aren't just cool kicks. They're a direct link to Kobe Bryant, a man who didn't just speak up for women's basketball, but showed up for it. Courtside, at practice, on social, with real energy and consistency. Bryant mentored Clark. He mentored others. He didn't wait until it was convenient to show support. That's what gave his advocacy weight. When Curry slipped on those shoes, he wasn't just backing Clark. He was nodding to Kobe's playbook. At her next press conference, Clark didn't center herself. She focused on the moment, the opportunity it represented. It wasn't about personal hype. It was about visibility for the sport. That's what Kobe taught. That's what Curry hinted at. And that's what Wilson cheered for. She acknowledged the rarity. The moment wasn't lost on her. It wasn't just about her signature being seen. It was about being respected, not just by the fans, but by the players who've already made it. This whole thing unfolded as Clark was still deep in the chaos of her rookie season. Media scrutiny, high-stakes games, critics waiting to pounce. That night, she didn't need to drop 30 points to make headlines. Someone else, someone with more eyes on him, amplified her presence just by stepping on court. The image of Curry wearing her shoes circulated faster than any stat line. It wasn't a quote. It wasn't a debate. It was a photo. But that photo spoke volumes. For players, for fans, for sponsors. It was the kind of exposure no PR campaign could buy. Still, the question lingers. What happens next? Will other NBA stars follow suit? Will this lead to more collaboration? More funding? More pressure on networks to broadcast women's games? Or will it fade like a headline that trended for 48 hours and disappeared? Curry's gesture matters, but only if it sparks something beyond the moment. Visibility is power, but progress needs follow-through. Real support means showing up after the hype dies down, investing when it's inconvenient, backing players when no one's watching. Clark has already proven she doesn't need to ride anyone's coattails. But if the Steph Currys of the world want to wear her shoes, they better be ready to walk the walk too. If you're into stories that challenge the system, highlight real moments, and shake up sports culture, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to see it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Curry's move was genuine? And hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns of the chaos behind the headlines. When Aya Wilson saw the photo of Curry rocking Clark's kicks, she didn't hold back. On social media, in interviews, in every way that mattered, she hyped it. But her reaction wasn't just a compliment. It was layered with meaning. Wilson knows how hard it is to get men's basketball to take women's hoops seriously. So when the face of the NBA does something as public and unprompted as this, it's not just support, it's history. Her enthusiasm wasn't about the shoes. It was about what they... Clark has never played the victim. She's acknowledged how hard it is to navigate the pressure, the spotlight, the constant scrutiny. But even through that, she's always kept the focus on the bigger picture: visibility, access, growth. She's talked about what it means for her to have young girls come to games in her jersey or wear her shoes. But she also knows that systemic change requires more than merch. It takes partnerships. It takes loud allies in powerful places. Curry wearing her shoes checked one box. In her interviews since the Curry moment, Clark hasn't tried to dramatize it. She's downplayed her own hype while making space to appreciate the larger context. She thanked Curry without making it a headline. But every word she spoke was measured. Not defensive, just aware. Aware of how fast moments can be taken out of context. Aware of how quickly the spotlight can become a microscope. And aware of how rare it is to be supported genuinely by male athletes with massive platforms. By the time Clark faced the press again, the conversation had shifted. Reporters didn't ask about her stats first. They asked about the shoes, about how it felt to have an MVP endorse her without saying a word. Clark used that moment to flip the script. She turned the attention away from herself and onto the league. She pointed out the broader implications, that moments like this can pull new fans into the WNBA. That symbolic support can become cultural leverage if it's... Back in the NBA, Curry never followed up with a statement. No press tour, no tweet storm. He just went about his business, business as usual. But the image didn't die. It was reposted, analyzed, discussed. And in that silence, there was space for interpretation. Maybe that was intentional. Maybe Curry knew the gesture would speak louder than anything he could say. Or maybe he preferred to let others take the narrative and run with it. Either way, the moment stayed in the public eye. As Clark continued her rookie campaign, the attention didn't slow down. If anything, it got more intense. Photos from her game started getting more traction than full NBA highlight reels. Her presence became a draw. Each new batch of match photos added to the narrative. She was no longer just a college phenomenon. She was proving herself in a league that doesn't hand out respect easily. And with Curry's shoes still circulating in the discourse, every game felt heavier. When Clark pulled up from a logo or delivered a no-look pass, it wasn't just a stat line, it was a statement. Every shot became part of the broader conversation. The irony was thick. She was being supported by a men's player for her talent, while still being questioned by critics for that same talent. That contradiction said everything about the double standard. Clark didn't ask for validation, but landed on her doorstep anyway. Kobe Bryant's influence hovered over the entire situation, not just because of the shoes, but because of what they represented. Kobe didn't just talk the talk. He was in the gyms, on the sidelines, coaching girls, backing players, pushing for coverage. Clark wearing Kobe SXS wasn't just a fashion statement. It was an unspoken tribute, and Curry wearing them added another layer. It connected 3 different chapters of the game, past, present, and future, in a way no marketing campaign ever could. As new photos dropped from Fever games, a pattern started to form. Fans wearing her shoes courtside, kids holding signs, opposing players rocking the same kicks. The shoes had gone viral, yes, but they'd also become iconic. For the first time in a long time, it felt like a WNBA player was shaping basketball culture, not just reacting to it. And the ripple effect? Unmistakable. The visibility opened doors that had been shut for too long. Clark's play didn't need defending. Her stats stood on their own. But the symbolic armor she gained through Curry's gesture gave her breathing room. The scrutiny was still there, but the narrative shifted. She was no longer just a rookie with hype. She was a rookie with legacy-level backing. That changed how people talked about her, how they watched her, and, maybe most importantly, how they respected the league she plays in. The power of that moment, Curry stepping onto the court in her shoes, didn't end at the buzzer. It stayed. And if it leads to more NBA players stepping up, more fans tuning in, more kids lacing up Clark SIXS for their own games, then it will have done more than spark a trend. It will have helped move the game forward. Clark has always been good on the mic, but after the Curry situation, every interview became a balancing act. People wanted headlines. She gave context. They wanted sound bites. She gave nuance. When asked what it meant to her, she acknowledged it was big. But she didn't make it all about herself. She kept looping back to what moments like this mean for the game as a whole. And that, more than anything, revealed how she views her own influence. It's not lost on anyone that Clark is still learning to navigate the professional league. Her face might be on billboards, but the game's still moving fast. Each photo from her games tells that story. Grit, focus, frustration, hustle. But since the Curry moment, even casual game photos carry more weight. Now, every time she steps on the court, there's a narrative already built in. Will she live up to the expectations? Will she carry the banner that's been handed to her, fairly or not? Wilson's commentary has remained consistent since day one. Give credit where it's due, and don't let the media twist the narrative. She knows how quick people are to undermine the WNBA, even when its players are breaking records and moving culture. So when she speaks up for Clark, she's not just endorsing a player. She's defending the league. Wilson sees moments like these as rare chances to expand the audience, to redefine what support looks like, and to demand that it not be temporary. Clark's public statements reflect someone who knows how fleeting the spotlight can be. She doesn't dwell on individual praise. Instead, she talks about what still needs to change, that it shouldn't take a man wearing her shoes for people to pay attention. She's candid about wanting more consistent support. Not just for herself, but for her teammates, her rivals, the entire league. If someone like Curry can spark a conversation, then others need to follow up with actions. Bigger platforms, more broadcast time, real investment. Kobe Bryant didn't just show up at women's games. He stayed involved. He coached his daughter's team like it was the NBA Finals. He pushed networks to show women's sports. He made it clear, again and again, that greatness knows no gender. Clark's shoes being Kobe's is not a coincidence. It's a through line, a bridge from what Kobe started to what Curry continued. And the unspoken message is clear. If you respect Kobe's legacy, you have to support what he stood for. That includes players like Clark. When Clark drains a three from 5 feet behind the arc, it's not just a highlight anymore. It's a statement, a challenge to every network executive who said the women's game wasn't entertaining enough, a rebuttal to every comment section full of lazy takes. Her game has always spoken louder than her interviews. And now, each shot adds to the case for why the WNBA deserves equal footing. The same courts, the same airtime, the same headlines. Not just when something goes viral, but Curry's game night look was subtle. No big flex, no dramatic point to the shoes. Just business as usual, with a twist. The shoes did the talking. But let's not pretend it wasn't strategic. He knows what those Cobes represent. He's not naive about the reach of his platform. So when he wears Clark's shoes, it means something. It's a calculated risk, but in the best way. One that could lead to more players doing the same, or at least thinking about why they haven't. When reporters pushed her for a deeper take, Clark didn't bite. She didn't speculate on Curry's motives. She didn't pretend to know what he was thinking. She stuck to what mattered, the visibility, the momentum, and the opportunity. She turned every question into a pivot toward the league. Not just her place in it, but how far it could go with sustained support. How moments like this shouldn't be the exception. They should be the norm. The evolution is visible in every new game photo. There's more intensity, more control, more confidence. Clark is adjusting. She's building chemistry with teammates, handling defensive pressure, and figuring out how to lead under a microscope. It's not smooth every night, but that's what makes it real. That's what makes her growth resonate. She's not being handed anything. She's earning it, on the court, in the press, and in the culture. Every time the ball leaves her hands, there's tension, not just about whether it'll go in, but what it will mean. Will it be the moment that silences critics, or fuels another round of comparisons and commentary? That's the reality of being the face of a movement. Every shot counts more. Every game is a referendum. But Clark isn't shying away from it. She's stepping into it. And that's what makes this more than just a sneaker moment. It's a cultural shift. A slow, stubborn, overdue shift, powered by players who aren't waiting for permission anymore. In her latest sit-down, Clark was asked if she thought this moment was a turning point for women's basketball. She didn't bite at the drama. Instead, she said what she always says, change doesn't happen overnight. She brought it back to the work. The hours, the reps, the grind. She wasn't interested in being framed as a symbol. She wanted to be seen as a player. Someone who earned respect through skill, not hype. And yet, even in that humility, you could sense the weight of it all pressing. She talked about how strange it is to have people debating your existence like it's a trending topic. 1 minute, she's being hailed as the future of the league. The next, she's dissected like a marketing experiment. It's relentless. But then she paused and acknowledged the real impact. Little girls coming to games in full Clark gear. Her shoes selling out across the country. College players tweeting out photos in her Cobes, tagging her like she's their big sister in the league. The influence is real, even if the pressure is too. At another post-game presser, Clark fielded more questions about Curry than her own performance. That says everything. But she handled it with grace, flipping the narrative back to the team. She mentioned her teammates by name, talked about how they've stepped up, how this season isn't about one player, no matter how viral. She made it clear, she's grateful for the support, but she's not doing this alone. That right there? Curry still hasn't said a word publicly. No podcast, no social media drop. And maybe that's the point. In an era where everyone's chasing attention, silence hits different. The visual of him stepping onto the court in those cobes, camera flashes bouncing off Clark's initials on his sneakers. It's seared into the moment now. He said more by doing less. But it only works if the silence leads to something louder, something lasting. Clark's been under a microscope all season. One off night, and the internet floods with hot takes. One highlight, and she's trending again. There's no middle ground. But game after game, she's shown up. That three-pointer from the wing? Splash. That sneaky no-look assist in transition? Clean. Even when the numbers don't break records, the impact is there. She moves differently. She shifts how defenses play. She draws double teams before she even crosses half-court. Look through the latest batch of match photos, and you'll see a story of resilience. Clark battling through contact, locking eyes with a defender before launching one from deep. The emotion on her face isn't just intensity, it's ownership. She's not playing to prove anyone wrong anymore. She's playing because she knows she belongs here. And when Curry laced up those cobes, it was like the basketball gods co-signed it. For once, the moment matched the message. It's impossible to talk about all this without bringing up Kobe again. He made it clear, support for women's basketball can't just be reactive. It has to be proactive. Kobe showed up before it was trendy. He didn't need a PR campaign to tell him women deserved equal respect on the court. He saw the talent. He celebrated it. And now, that energy is being passed forward. Not perfectly, not fast enough, but it's happening. Clark wearing his model, Curry wearing hers. The connection is poetic, but also practical. This is how culture shifts. One game, one gesture, one ripple at a time. If you've been following every twist of this saga, now's your moment. Tap like if you're here for the shift. Share this with someone still sleeping on the WNBA. Drop a comment. Was this support symbolic, sincere, or something in between? And subscribe to stay on top of every story that shakes up the game.